And welcome to the final episode of, the bonus episode, really, of Ocarina of Time. Having defeated Ganon and basically done stuff, there's, only one other thing in this game we haven't directly or indirectly showcased, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that now. And while I do that, I guess we're just going to talk about the game in general terms. So, Tony, what did you think?
I can see why people really liked this game when it first came out. Having literally only played it now, what is it, literally 20 years after the game came out? More than that? I'm still sitting here going, I see, some issues, but,
Yeah, in some ways it hasn't aged super gracefully, just because it's one of the first 3D games.
But, yeah, I really see why people like it. The story isn't super complex, but it doesn't really need to be. With a few, confusing exceptions here and there. Everything kind of works the way it's supposed to, as far as I'm concerned. I don't have any major complaints as far as the way the story actually goes out. The time travel, shtick is a little bit, confusing here and there, but time travel tends to be.
Yeah. Especially because the ending is breaking the established rules of time travel in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Because until that point, the back and forth has always been you go straight back, forward and back 7 years. There we go. No. No! No, I needed the bugs!
Goodbye, fish.
They're burrowing away. I didn't want those bugs. I wanted a fish, not bugs. I wanted bug, not... There we go. What?
What just happened?
There we go. That's the thing I was after.
Gameplay has a few, it's not clunky, at least taken in the way, when it first came out.
Yeah.
But, there are some issues, and I don't know if that's because this, I think, in the case of the bow, that's explicitly because of the version we're using.
Yeah, there's something kind of janky about the controller for some reason. It's been a minor nuisance the entire playthrough. But it's the GameCube version, the GameCube joystick is slightly more sensitive than the N64 one, and they didn't compensate for that. This is, the worst version of Ocarina of Time, apparently, and I didn't know that until afterwards. It's just, it's one of those things, it's a great game regardless, it's just small issues came up over the course of playing it. When this game came out, I would have said, basically, it probably was a 10 out of 10 game, even though I didn't really appreciate it as much. Or, I appreciated it more, but I didn't have as much of a critical eye back then.
I think, basically, if I played this back when I was young, I'd rate this somewhere around, a 7 or an 8.
Yeah.
It's really fun, but, I have a very specific game that, sits on a 10 for me.
Yeah, no, I hear ya. The thing is one of those things where it's just, now that I'm looking back on it with a critical eye, if you compare it to a lot of, brand new modern games, some stuff doesn't, add up quite as much, but, it's still, a 9 out of 10 game by today's standards.
I mean,
How about 10 rupees? Yep, this is... So it's a magic bean, you find a suitable plant, yada yada, you find some soft soil, chomp chomp chomp. So these are soft soil.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the one thing we haven't shown off. If you check it out, if you throw some bugs at it, why did they run around? You have to stand directly over it or something?
Maybe?
Am I hallucinating this? I swear to God, this was the thing that you did. Also, the bugs multiply every time you use them.
That is amusing.
But the way it worked in my memory is that you dump bugs... Oh, no.
Well,
Next to the, fertile soil, and then a Scatola would come out.
huh.
And that's how you get, like, 10 of the Scatolas in this game. And if you didn't know that, then you missed out on getting several Scatolas in this game.
Yeah, apparently that's actually how that's supposed to work. If you drop a bug near the hole, it will burrow into the earth, causing a gold Scatola to pop out.
Yeah, so, I mean...
It works for every spot in the soft spoil except for the one right next to him.
Oh. Okay, I was gonna say, well, I mean, like, what's one last bit of jank for the road, am I right? So, let me see.
But,
Down A. Oh, yeah, you can press the button and show off, and actually have it play the song for you.
Oh, okay.
Down A, right down, okay.
But yeah, like, this game could probably get would only really need a fair bit of polish to be resold in modern day and still be considered a good game.
Which is exactly what the 3DS version was, essentially. So, this is gonna make sure that we can't actually get all of the Scatolas in this playthrough, but we were never going to do that anyway. But this is just the easiest one to get to that I can remember off the top of my head, so I'm just going to go ahead and...
Wasn't there one right next to him that was right there that you...
Yes, but in a moment here, I'm going to warp back to the Temple of Time. And I'm going to warp directly back here, so this is still the easiest place to get to and from. And then I can't remember the Temple of Time song. Okay.
I mean, I guess so. I mean, like, I've been made aware of a glitch that we could use to get the last one if we really wanted to do that, but...
Yeah.
Speaking of, I actually kind of love, like, the old, old games having, like, glitches and workarounds.
Okay.
A little bit of trouble there.
Am I thinking of it the wrong way? Up, right, left, up? What?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, am I having a stroke, or was that literally a song I was just playing and it didn't work the first time?
I don't know, you just seemed like you weren't putting in the last two, like, notes to me.
I thought I pressed all those buttons, but whatever.
I mean, I shit-talk you, but, like, I have problems remembering the notes in general, so...
Yeah.
Which is kind of infuriating for me, because I actually used to play, like, instruments and stuff like that. It shouldn't be this hard for me to remember notes.
Yeah. But, there are several things worth noting about this game. Like, there's a lot of interesting stuff. This is a game that established in a lot of ways what came to be known as the Zelda formula. Like, I mean, A Link to the Past was more establishing the thing, but this is the game that more codified it. And what's interesting about is that the Zelda formula is in some ways derided because there's a degree of linearity where it's like you weren't exploring Hyrule, you were going through a guided tour of all the cool things in Hyrule. Whereas, like, in the first game, there was, like, nothing to help you, and the second game had some weird overhead view stuff. Where you're, like, looking over the game world, and then along came A Link to the Past, and then suddenly you go to every part of the game world. Like, here, for instance, there's a couple corners of Hyrule Field that you don't need to go to. And there is some side content sprinkled around, but... there's nothing in this game that wasn't obviously put there with Nintendo expecting you to interact with it over the course of the main playthrough. Even a lot of the side content stuff that's purely optional, like the Gerudo like training grounds or the fishing hole or whatever, are placed right next to a place you're going to be going anyway.
Okay.
The most damning one, as far as this goes, would be Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
Because you literally just go back and forth to linear areas one at a time.
Ah.
And, like, do stuff. But the thing is I think the problem actually started getting bad with Twilight Princess. Because Wind Waker, because there are parts of this game that are completely out of order. For instance, after you get the hook shot, you can literally, like, there's a couple things you need a bow for in here, but you can, I think, when I first played this game, I can't remember why, but I remember beating the Fire Temple before I beat the Forest Temple, and I know I did Spirit before Shadow.
Ah.
Not saying my experience was usual, but there were, like, bits of it that you could do differently. And then we had Wind Waker, which was the game after this one.
Oh, really? Like, Wind Waker literally came directly after this one?
Well, no, Majora's Mask came after this one.
Well,
Majora's Mask is kind of a weird game by several standards, though. But, like, it was Majora's Mask, which did a lot of really weird theme stuff, was built around a time loop mechanic, and was really... Is it really its own essay in game design, functionally? Anyway, I'm putting off this bean sprout. I can talk while writing it. And this is what you get out of doing that. And then there's just, like, you can go around to places. Like, this has that heart container thing you can get to. And then also you can just leave the crater from over there.
Oh.
But, like, you remember the Spirit Temple, for instance?
Yeah.
How there was that archway, and you're like, oh, hey, there's a heart piece up there. And I'm like, yeah, and there's a specific way to get to it that we can't do right now. Because we didn't have any magic beans.
Okay.
But it's like, this is another clever use of the time travel mechanic, and, like, Majora's Mask took the time travel mechanic in a completely different direction. But then we move on to Wind Waker. And Wind Waker had this wide-open oceans place, and there's, like, a bunch of islands you never need to go to. And there's just a lot of explorable content and a lot of stuff or whatever, and because a handful of people really disliked, like, the cartoony aesthetic, Twilight Princess was really kind of existed more as... And this isn't me just attacking Twilight Princess, because it was in several ways a good game. It's perfectly acceptable by any reasonable standard.
I never finished it, but, like, I found it fun when I was playing it.
Yeah, no, it's great, and I wouldn't mind playing it. I wouldn't mind playing it again, or even maybe doing it on the show someday. But, like, it is the most guilty of all of, like, it's basically where the problems started becoming actual problems, and not just like, oh, we don't like how this thing turned out. It's just... Because, like, you go to an area, and then you're forced to go to another area, and then there's a plot thing telling you why you have to go to the next area, and then there's just, like, another bit. And it feels less like you're playing a game sometimes, and more like you're doing a checklist. And there is literally a dungeon in the game, I think it's the Snow Peak Ruins, where, like, you don't explore that dungeon. You just don't. You literally go into the dungeon, and there's a guy in the dungeon. There's a bombable wall here. I just wandered over here because I saw there's a walkway. But there's like a guy in the dungeon that tells you to go somewhere and then unlocks the door for you to go there. Oh, hey, a Sheikah Stone. Oh, that was worth my time. Wait, it has a ceiling here. But, like... And then, like, you go to a place and you do something, and then you're sitting somewhere else, and you come back, and it's, like, the single most...
Oh, okay.
Huh. Well, I mean, I don't know what I was expecting. But it's like every sin people accuse Zelda of having basically became codified in Twilight Princess. And then Skyward Sword, like, certain things were changed, and it just, like, worked out weird in a number of ways. But, like... Yeah. Oh, whoops. Didn't mean to summon you, Big Goron.
'Twas accidental. But yeah, I remember when, Skyward Sword first came out, and my, dislike for it wasn't because I actually got to play it. It was just like saw like a little bit of what was like what it was like and what people were saying about it. I was like, huh, this doesn't look enough like, ironically, Twilight Princess for my taste. And then I just moved on with my life.
Well, the thing is that if you know a game series by a game or two in it, and then you decide whether or not you like certain parts of it, like Halo 1 was rough compared to later games in a lot of ways. But then they also changed a lot about future Halos that basically completely recharacterized the entire series. Like health packs like getting dropped after the first game, for instance. And just all health was regenerating health. But, like, yeah, that's kind of the thing, where it's like, this... People point to this game, and it really shouldn't, because, like... It was fine. And then... Majora's Mask had a lot of innovation and everything, but it's just like, what was the innovation that was in Twilight Princess? Link's a dog now? Occasionally? Link's an occasional dog, and it's not even that interesting or well executed as a mechanic, in my opinion. Like, it pops up a few times, and then, like, there's some cool stuff that they advance some of the swordplay and everything, but Twilight Princess is a very reactionary game. There was some blowback from,
Wind Waker?
From Wind Waker, yeah, and then, like, Twilight Princess was the result. And then until, Breath of the Wild came out and just completely changed everything, in some ways good and in some way bad. But, like, I'm glad that game exists just because it revitalized a lot of what was going on across the entire franchise. And it's just like, let's just rethink everything.
Yeah, like, ever since Breath of the Wild came out, and, like, also since we started doing this, like playing this in general, I've noticed a, like, sharp uptick in interest from, like, the Zelda community. Just in the Zelda franchise again. Like, it looks like everyone's back again. Like, from what I've seen, there was, like, a small, like, it was kind of, like, stagnating slightly. There's a slight decline over time, and then basically Breath of the Wild came out, and suddenly everyone is basically up and playing these games again.
Yeah, I'm super hyped for Breath of the Wild too, by the way. There's a lot of... Just because there's a lot of weird stuff they brought in to Breath of the Wild, but, like, they've learned what parts worked and which parts didn't and how we feel about certain things. And there was just a lot of ideas left over. And so Breath of the Wild 2, I feel, is going to be the actual, like, litmus test going forward into the franchise. I think that Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be to Breath of the Wild what Majora's Mask was to Ocarina of Time.
Oh, I hope so.
Me too. Anyway, one last... I might as well end this on basically a bizarre and infuriating note, because it just... a lot about this game in general. Do you notice it, Tony? The thing that I have noticed. I'm guessing that's a no.
No, I haven't noticed it.
Let me demonstrate again.
Alright. Those windows are fake.
There is so much about this game where nothing, like, matches up or makes any sense. There's no, like, apologies, and there's nothing... Nothing syncs up, nothing's explained.
Oh my god, there's actually no windows in basically that building.
Yeah. The only other thing that we haven't touched upon yet is... this. We were talking about the windmill, how it has that area you can get up to. Apparently there's a Coco there during the daytime that you can use to fly around. But why is lost on me? Because I'm not sure you can actually reach that grapple point with a hook shot. I mean, you might be able to, and I'm just misremembering. But, like, there's nowhere in this village you can't get with a hook shot that would require a Coco. Because the only place that you can't get is, like, the top of the windmill, assuming there's somewhere to stand up there. But the birds only let you hover downward, and the only place you could end up that would be hard to get to is this, but you can get here with the owl as a child from when you went up at the volcano.
Yeah.
There's, like, no purpose for that tunnel over there.
Yeah, and basically having, like, been baffled by its existence, or, like, after the episode where we went through it, and decided to go look it up, and as far as I could tell, nobody actually knows what its purpose is either.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, that guy's still around.
Yep.
Is he just gonna stay here forever?
Well, I mean, there's nothing really... We don't really get to see a post-Ganon, like, adult timeline. Like, we can go back to the castle right now and fight him again if we wanted to.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, I mean, that's a place we could go with the code that we can't get to normally.
Oh.
I'm not sure we could glide all the way from over there, though, and I'm not sure we could jump from over here over there somehow, but it exists as a building we could theoretically enter.
I see.
But yeah, that was Ocarina of Time. There's really not much else to say about it. It's just a really well-crafted, beloved Zelda classic. And I'm really glad that basically we took the time to play through this, and I got to showcase to you one of my favorite games growing up. Like, there's only a couple of games that I enjoyed as much as Ocarina of Time, like, growing up as a kid, and, like, I considered influential. And the other two that spring immediately to mind that I was playing at around this time that basically impacted me as deeply were Metal Gear Solid, the first one, and Mega Man Legends. So that's some pretty esteemed company, even if you ignore the merits this game has. So how about you, Tony? Any closing thoughts to finish us off with, or?
Well, I've been sitting here kind of playing this game, and, like, I've had my frustrations with it, and, like, how, like gameplay's worked through, and, like, basically occasionally, like, I've shit-talked, a lot of the characters in it. Basically, friendly banter and all that. At the end of the day, I'm sitting here going, like, I'm actually really glad that I got to play this game at all.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have these games growing up. I didn't have many games growing up.
Yeah.
And so getting to see kind of, like, the games that were played back when I was, like, super young.
It makes you... I can't remember. There's a term for it. It's like... I think there's, like, a German word for it, because Germany has words for everything. Where it's, like, nostalgic for something that you never actually got to have.
Yeah. That's the exact emotion that this game makes me feel.
It brings you back to another way of experience, like another type of, like, what was happening back then or something. Yeah, I get it.
And it's like, so yeah, I had a lot of fun, and honestly, I'm looking forward to what's going to happen next time.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you enjoyed it, and I'm glad that I was able to share this game with you and our experience with this game with our audience. And we will definitely be coming back to another Zelda title in the future, but... Well, I mean... Next time will be something else entirely. For those of you who are watching, who have seen this video and are just checking out, this is very different from our regular content. But thank you for sticking around this long into the video to hear that statement. And for those of you who shared our entire journey through this game, whether, like, as we were posting it, or coming back, I don't know, years later when you stumbled across it because you saw something else we made or something. Thank you for spending this playthrough with us, basically. And letting us into your lives some kind of, like, guides through this beloved classic. It's, so far, GameQuest has been one of the weirdest, most hectic, but bizarrely rewarding things that I've had a chance to partake in. Just on the merit of the fact that, like, I don't know, no one's watching this show right now. This is... Oh, man. I'm just thinking about, like, basically how ridiculous it's going to be, like, if like 10 years from now we're huge and we come back and watch these old videos, like, I don't know, do you think it's going to be like something we're ashamed of, like some embarrassing childhood memory, or do you think this is going to be cool to us back like then or whatever, going like, yeah, like it was rough, but you could see like what we became from this or whatever, or is it going to be like, man, we went downhill?
Oh.
Post Zelda, nothing but clickbaiting.
Oh. Honestly, like, I don't see like anywhere for us to go but up. But like, even if we don't go anywhere after this, like, I don't think I'm gonna be ashamed of what we put on. I think we might have some jokes that we made that I'm gonna sit here and go, ah, man, that could have been done better. Oh, wow, that's making my spine cringe. But
Making fun of my jokes, you clut.
But at the end of the day, like, I've had a lot of fun doing this, and that's mostly what matters to me in this.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. You enjoyed it. Hopefully, our audience enjoyed it, and we're not just gonna get like, I don't know, canceled
Before we've even truly begun.
We've only just begun. But yeah, so next time you hear from us, we will probably be neck deep in our next game, which will be less stressful on Tony because I've already promised to play the next one. So he's not constantly fumbling his way through weird puzzles and action scenes and like fighting a genre he's unfamiliar with.
So with that stated, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.